What's going on, guys? Night Rainbow here with another reaction video. And I am finally getting back to the Elements of Justice series. This is going to be for Case 2, Episode 3. I meant to go back and rewatch the last episode so I can remember what happened or what's going to be happening, but had a lot of stuff going on, so I wasn't able to get to it. But I do remember there being they found what looked like a murder scene at the statue of Nightmare Moon. A lot of blood there, and they got the victim's son in jail now as a suspect, which along with Scootaloo apparently. Yeah. I'm curious to see how this is gonna go. I definitely remember seeing Sakura in there. I believe she's gonna be the prosecutor for this one, which honestly I think that's gonna be a way better option than the last two that we got with Blue Blood and Trixie. She'll definitely be much more fair, trying to uncover the truth rather than just doing it for glory and whatever. Hopefully, unless they decide to do something completely different with her, but I doubt they will do that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I apologize if you hear any weird buzzing in the background. That would be these lights. They are very weird. When I turn them on, and no matter what brightness you set them to, they buzz. They actually buzz louder the brighter they are. So not much I can really do about that. But hopefully it's not too horrible. I was able to hear it before I actually started recording it, but hopefully it's not too horrible. And I apologize if the webcam keeps shaking too. I got it all set up on boxes here on this table. Really the best I could do here. But yeah, so definitely look forward to this. It's 2.5 hours long, so let's go ahead, get this started, and see what happens. I like that picture in the back. You know what? That reminds me of Mulan, actually, with the Emperor and whatever that assistant's name was. They show a picture of him doing the same exact thing.
Okay.
Oh, that's right. Athena was leading this one.
It'll just be like any other.
Except with magic and 2 kids as defendants. And no help from Phoenix or Apollo.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Legit. Can you say something positive for a change?
No.
I am positive that this trial will be anything but a case.
Oh my god.
Keep you on.
Athena, there you are. Where have you been all morning? We were looking everywhere for you.
Sorry, Twilight. I got up early to run a few laps around the castle. As soon as I was done, I rushed over here.
But you were already up late last night. How many hours did you actually sleep?
What's sleep?
About 3, I'd say.
Did you at least get something to eat?
I had something to drink after my laps. Nothing like some freshly squeezed orange juice after a good workout.
Just don't let Applejack hear that.
What was that?
Trust me,
Wait,
Twilight.
why? Wasn't she like
This
that?
is nothing out of the ordinary
Holy
for-
shit.
Not exactly a great idea to tire yourself out.
I forgot they were doing that.
Is it?
Hey! At least I'm getting some exercise, Mr. Overnight Instant Noodles and Comics.
It's called manga. And it's art.
Yeah, I remember hearing he was going to make it look more like
Well rested before
this kind of computerized look. I guess make it more based off the
There's a
Video
lot more
games.
on the line with this, though, Trucy.
You're still worried about defending both Scootaloo and Turning Page, aren't you?
Yeah, just a little bit. But I'm fine. I'm just a little on edge, you know?
Well, don't worry, Athena. I'm going to be right there with you throughout the trial.
I'll be honest, it's really weird
Thanks again,
seeing
Twilight.
the computerized
My aid.
versions of them right next to the cartoon versions of the
I'm
ponies.
certainly gonna need the help. That's for sure.
Speaking of those kids, where are they? They should have been brought here by now.
Apparently, the prosecutor wanted to have one last conversation with them before the trial started. They should be here any minute.
Hopefully soon. The trial's about to start.
By the way, Twilight, did you manage to get any info about the prosecutor?
No,
Wait, they didn't even tell you?
no, they didn't. I'm sorry, Athena,
Huh? For what?
for not being able to find out who the prosecutor is. I gave you my word that I would, after all.
Twilight, it's okay, really. I mean, it's not like it would make that much of a difference.
I mean, if they don't tell you, then
The second we
it's
walk
going to be
through
pretty
this
difficult to
door,
find out
we're
anyway.
gonna find out exactly who the prosecutor is anyway.
You did the best you could, Twilight. That's all anyone can ask for.
I can't stop looking at that picture. Oh, Twilight.
Good morning, every pony. Especially to you, Princess Twilight.
Well, you're in a good mood.
There's no need to bow to me, really.
What do you mean? Of course there is. You're taking time out of your busy schedule to help defend Miss Scootaloo and me. I'm eternally grateful, Princess.
Wait, how did you know I was assisting the defense?
Oh, well, it was the prosecutor. They told us to be aware of your presence today.
Why does it always feel like we're being left in the dark?
I mean, yeah.
Don't know anything about the prosecution, but somehow they already know about us? And they told Turning and Scootaloo?
Miss Sykes?
Is that even normal? Not knowing who the prosecution is?
I have a request. I want you both to focus on Miss Scootaloo. I don't care what happens to me, but you must defend Scootaloo no matter what. She's innocent. I know it. If worse comes to worse, let me take the blame and just save her.
What? Turning, no! Do you realize what'll happen if we do that? If you're found guilty, you'll be banished from Equestria.
I know that. But that's a price I'm willing to pay. If it means Miss Scootaloo is saved.
He's absolutely serious.
Yeah, that's a
about
brave kid.
this.
Defend me if you must. But just know that if I think things start to look bad, I won't hesitate to confess if it means saving her.
No! You're innocent too! You can't throw your life away just for me, Turning! I won't let you! Besides, think of your mom. She just lost your dad after all. If you end up banished...
She'll be fine. Besides, she'd understand. Sometimes sacrifices need to be made. It's my duty, as a future member of the Royal Guard.
I'm not 100% convinced on it, but
No matter whose,
I'm not ruling his mom out as a suspect here.
don't worry, Scootaloo. If what the prosecutor said is true, then we shouldn't have to worry at all. I'm just stating this as a last resort, in case things don't go according to plan.
Right.
This mystery prosecutor is making secret plans with the defendants as well? You know what? I'm not gonna just stand there twiddling my thumbs. It's time for some answers. Alright, just who exactly is the prosecutor? And what exactly did they say to you two?
I'm sorry, Miss Sykes, but we were told not to tell you anything about the prosecutor's identity or plan.
Why?
Seriously?
What's the deal? Why are they being so secretive?
Seriously, this is
I
weird.
don't know, but it's starting to get on my
Even if it is Sakura, this is really weird.
Turning! You guys doing alright? Yeah.
Whoa, that little animation there was cool.
I am. Thank you for asking.
Hey, Squirt! You doing okay? Yeah. I just can't believe I'm going on trial. Yeah, it feels pretty crazy, huh? It's okay, though. You made it through the worst part. All you gotta do now is sit tight and wait for Athena to prove that you didn't do it.
I'm glad you've all come out to support Scootaloo and Turning.
Well, most of us, darling. A certain some pony didn't want to get out of bed today. I practically had to drag her to the courthouse.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about this.
Oh, well, that makes sense, I guess. She was feeling sick yesterday, wasn't she?
Hey, what's up with you? What's going on?
She doesn't seem like she's ill at all.
Hello? Be quiet.
Miss Sykes, what's going on?
Well, you see...
Hero didn't want to help us investigate the case.
Oh no.
No, that's... Oh, Bridget!
Sweetie Belle? What's this about? Oh, no! It's not like that at all! It's not like I don't want to help. I'm just so sure that Scootaloo is innocent, and I know that Princess Twilight and Miss Sykes will be able to prove it without my help. Sweetie. That's how it works, right? In court, the truth will come out no matter what. You didn't even want to try and help, though? Sweetie Belle! What are you talking about? We're the Cutie Mark Crusaders. We do everything together, and that includes helping each other out no matter what. We've had each other's backs ever since we started looking for our cutie marks. That's the whole reason why we're friends in the first place. So why aren't you helping now?
Apple Bloom, Sweetie Belle, I know this is a rough time for y'all, but this ain't the time or place to be having this discussion.
No, it's perfect time. Come on.
I want to help Scootaloo. Really,
I want to know what's going on with her.
But considering what she did, I didn't want to get in the way and make things worse. Like you did.
Dang.
What's that supposed to mean? Sweetie Belle, apologize to Apple Bloom. What are you talking about, Sweetie Belle? What did I do? You know what you did! You stole some fabric from Carousel Boutique the other night! You went into the forest and gave it to Diamond Jar and Silver Spoon, didn't you? In exchange for your scooter?
Girls, that's enough. This ain't...
Wait a minute. Sweetie Belle, how did you know that Scootaloo stole the fabric in the first place?
Wasn't there a note?
Yeah. How did you know about that? What are you hiding from us, Sweetie Belle? Rainbow! That is quite enough! No! She's clearly keeping quiet about something. And if it can help Scootaloo, then she needs to tell us.
You need to calm down, Rainbow. You're not helping any pony by scaring Sweetie Belle.
I just knew, alright? Something didn't seem right when Turning showed up in the middle of the night to say hello, so I figured something was up. I checked around the boutique after he left and noticed one roll of golden silk was missing. That's all! See, there you go, Rainbow. A perfectly reasonable explanation. I don't buy it. Look at her. She's shaking like a leaf. I think she's still hiding.
Well, I mean, I
something.
doubt you're helping that much right now, but
What happened?
especially when you say that.
Rainbow, back off.
Look, I need to go. Oh, we'll see you all in there, okay? Sweetie Belle! I'll go after her. But you and I are going to have a serious talk later, Rainbow Dash.
Consarn it, Rainbow.
What a mess.
I shouldn't have said that. I should not have said that.
I just don't get it. Why would Sweetie Belle doubt Scootaloo? Aren't they all good friends?
They are, but I don't know.
I don't know. There's probably
Even
something else going on
close
there.
friends could still doubt each other. But not typically without a very good reason.
If I could have everybody
Maybe
to
she's
I was about to
feeling a
declare
little jealous or
that
something
it's
about
their attorneys
Scootaloo
way into the court.
falling for turning.
Here we go.
It's the only thing I could think of.
Deep breaths of
Bubs? Sweaty?
Don't worry, you've got this. Remember to focus and you'll be able to prove your client's innocence.
Just believe in yourself, okay?
thanks, you guys.
I know this is a big step for you as a lawyer, but we all start somewhere. It's time for you to take that next leap forward. I'm confident you'll succeed. You'll always have my full support.
Boss. We got this. Right, Twilight?
Of course, Athena. Now, let's go.
Oh, hi, Cat. What are you doing? Cat's just sitting on the rug looking at me. Oh, that's cool.
Court is now in session for the trial of Scootaloo and Turning Page. Are the prosecution and defense ready?
That's weird. The prosecution is missing. Wait, why is the judge still here?
Because we can't
Prosecution
have it without the judge.
defense.
This
Are
judge in
you
particular.
ready?
Yes, Your Honor. But, you're still here then?
You didn't think I'd go straight back home?
That's creepy.
I figured I'd take a short vacation in this wonderful world.
Is it really a vacation if you're still working?
I truly do love it here in Equestria.
Yeah, okay, brony.
Done with today's trial, I plan on doing some sightseeing for a few days before I head back home. I know I said I wasn't interested before, but I'm thinking of checking out that race Prince Blueblood mentioned. I'll admit I don't have much experience with
What race he mentioned?
but I suppose it could be fun to watch. Princess Twilight, if you know of any other sights I could catch in Equestria, I'd greatly appreciate being told about them.
I'll let you know, Your Honor.
So,
She's so
what are you
weirded
gonna
out by
do
this.
here exactly, Your Honor? In court, I mean.
Well, actually, it was Princess Celestia who asked me to preside over this trial.
Of course.
Wait,
That was awesome.
Celestia asked you? Why?
I'm sorry, Miss Sparkle, but I'm afraid I don't have that answer. The letter I received simply asked if I would be willing to preside over the trial, and I agreed.
That's odd. Wasn't that supposed to be one of Princess Celestia's
There were so many secrets going on right now, and
the previous trial was because Twilight specifically requested it.
things being left in
But that
dark
doesn't
is
seem to be the case
just
this
getting
time.
so annoying
So
now.
what is going on here?
In any case, we'll get started with the trial. Prosecution, I have still yet to hear your answer. Are you ready?
Forget hearing their answer. I'd settle for just seeing them.
If the prosecution is not prepared, then it would appear that I will have to postpone the trial until they arrive. Very well. Court is...
Hold it! My apologies, Your Honor. The prosecution is ready.
The fuck?
Huh? Wait. She has wings?
Okay, I was not expecting that. That's pretty cool.
And who might you be?
Princess Luna. A pleasure to meet you, Your Honor.
Princess?
Oh, you're in trouble then.
Yes, I do recall receiving a message that...
You gotta be the princess now.
...for this case chose to allocate their duties to another. Regardless, that is no excuse to be late to court, Princess?
Just prosecutor will do, Your Honor. And I understand. My sincerest apologies. A colleague of mine had something they wished to discuss with me, and so it delayed my arrival. Nevertheless, the prosecution is now prepared.
Oh, this guy.
Very well.
I am even more intrigued now.
Luna, huh? So she is an alicorn, just like Twilight. I suppose that makes sense, given that she's a
Heck, I think this is
princess.
our first time actually seeing Luna too in both series.
It sounds familiar. Wait,
It was where Equestria's current rulers, Princess Celestia and Luna, used to live.
Oh, that's right. She's one of Equestria's leaders. Just my luck. How am I supposed to keep up with the ruler of an entire country? Okay, relax.
It's weird that one of the princesses would be a prosecutor and not the judge, though.
Still, something about her appearance. Have I seen her somewhere before?
Yep, Nightmare Moon
Twilight,
statue.
Twilight? What's wrong?
Princess Luna? What are you doing here?
Ah, Twilight Sparkle. I heard that you would be assisting the defense today.
Heard? I think it's more likely that you found out during your nightly stroll. Am I right?
I should have expected you'd know. You've always been the clever one.
What the heck are they talking about?
Nevertheless, Miss Sparkle, the reason I'm here is quite simple. It is my duty to uphold the laws of Equestria. I am simply fulfilling that duty, regardless of whom it is I may be prosecuting. Be they adults
I mean, it's not Sakura, but she'll still do a better job than Blue Blood and Trixie.
Responsibility to the fullest. But of course, being the clever pony that you are, I'm sure you could have guessed that, couldn't you?
Twilight?
As for you, Defense...
Huh? Me?
I must confess, I was hoping that the Blue Phoenix would stand against me.
The Blue Phoenix.
His efforts during the TS5
Oh my god.
and the case from 2 days ago were certainly admirable, twice proving there was no murder in our peaceful country. So, imagine my surprise when I learned that you would be the lead on this case instead. You, whom I have only heard of in hearsay and whispers that began spreading after the trial in Manhattan. I look forward to seeing if you can hold yourself up to the same standards that the Blue Phoenix has.
Oh, no pressure.
You'll see. I will live up to his example. With Twilight by my side, Scootaloo and Turning Page are as good as free.
Is that so? Well, that's wonderful to hear.
And with that, let us resume this trial. Prosecutor Luna, you may make your opening statement.
At once, Your Honor.
All right, let's do this. Ready, Twilight?
She's out of it now.
Twilight?
Huh? Oh, sorry. Right. Let's get this started.
Today's proceedings shall center around the murder of Royal Order, who had just returned home from Canterlot the night he was killed. He was a member of the Royal Guard.
What? George Bunny was killed? Not just killed, he was murdered. What does this mean? Are we still safe?
Have none of you actually heard that?
Rest assured, my
Yeah.
little ponies, that there is no cause for alarm. We anticipated this would be the public's reaction to this news.
Oh, so they
That
just
is
kept
why
it
we
secret?
held this information
Oh, okay. There you
until
go.
We had all the facts.
That's right. Private Eye mentioned something about keeping the victim's identity a secret from the public. Looks like that was the right call.
Now that we have investigated this matter in full, we are ready to present the truth behind this stallion's death to the court and the public. I will begin by submitting the victim's autopsy report.
The court accepts the report as evidence.
Under effects of poison joke.
The time of death is estimated to be on the evening of February 12th between 9:30 p.m., when the victim was last seen, and 10:30 p.m., when the body was discovered. The coroner was able to confirm this during their examination of the body. Death came as the result of a single stab wound to the right side of the victim's head.
A single lethal strike, then.
It's not quite that simple, Your Honor. There was only one visible wound, but he appears to have been stabbed at least twice. Whether or not this was caused by a single
Really?
weapon or multiple weapons is unclear. What we do know for certain is that the victim died instantly after just a single stab. All subsequent stabs...
I remember the
were
side,
post-mortem.
the wound to the side of the head, but I don't remember the rest.
The thing we need to be concerned with is figuring out how the victim suffered his initial stab wound. That's what killed him.
Additionally, we discovered a large bruise on the left side of the victim's torso. indicating that he was struck by some sort of object. However, unlike the subsequent stab wounds, the victim received this bruise before he died.
I see.
What I'm still wondering is, why did the killer stab the victim in the head of all places? That's way too bizarre to not be important.
There's still one more point in this autopsy report that confuses me, though.
I assume you are referring to the affliction the victim was suffering?
That's correct. This poison joke. I've done my research on Equestria, but I'm afraid my studies didn't quite cover this topic.
There's no need to worry, Your Honor. I shall explain. Poison joke is a rare type of flower, native only to the Everfree Forest. It is relatively harmless, but should one so much as touch the plant, they will be afflicted with a bizarre condition unique to every individual.
Yeah, this is all stuff that Twilight mentioned yesterday.
In the case of Royal Order, the affliction he suffered was weak knees. Ironic that a member of the Royal Guard would be afflicted with a condition that makes it difficult to stand tall.
Yeah, true.
Indeed.
As for the body itself, it was discovered at the foot of the bridge leading to the castle of the Two Sisters. As you can see on this diagram, the castle ruins lie at the very end of the path that cuts through the Everfree Forest. We also have an additional diagram here that gives us a closer look at the crime scene itself. The X we've marked on here is representative of where the body was at the time of its discovery. Lastly, the prosecution wishes to submit this photo of the crime scene to the court. The victim's body had already been removed for autopsy by the time it was taken, but we laid out tape to mark its exact positioning.
Very well. The court accepts the diagrams and photo as evidence.
The ponies accused of committing this wretched crime are Turning Page, the son of the victim, and Scootaloo, a friend of Turning's.
It is rather difficult for me to believe that these two children would do something like this, though. Not to mention the fact that one of the two standing accused is the victim's own son.
It's certainly a rather tough pill to swallow, but I am certain that, in time, you will come to see that these two were the only ones capable of committing this crime.
You'd better have some pretty substantial evidence to back up your claims, Prosecutor Luna. These are children's lives at stake.
Trust me, Your Honor. It brings me no pleasure to prosecute these young souls. However, justice must still be served. In the eyes of the law, every pony is equal. Age is a non-issue. I trust that you, too, know this, and will remain impartial in your judgment?
Certainly, Prosecutor Luna. That is the duty of a judge, after all.
Bang, this is gonna be...
That, Your Honor.
This is gonna get rough.
And defense? What is your stance regarding the charges filed against your clients?
Your Honor, we stand by our plea of not guilty. The defendants, Turning Page and Scootaloo, are both completely innocent of the charges filed against them.
The court acknowledges the defense's position. Now then, let's hear from the prosecution's first witness.
Your Honor, the prosecution would like to call the detective in charge of this investigation, Private Eye, to the stand.
Very well.
All right. Private Eye's up first, then. Hopefully he doesn't say anything too damaging.
I hope she turned her widget off before going out there.
Occupation for the record.
My name is Private Eye, Princess. Detective. In might I say, good morning to everyone present. Princess Twilight, Miss Sykes, my lord.
Good morning.
Oh, huh? I could get used to that.
Of course you could.
The prosecution's first course of action will be to make the actions of the victim clear to the court. Detective, please testify in regards to this matter.
At once, Your Highness. The victim, Royal Order, was stationed at Camelot until late afternoon on the day of his murder. After After his shift ended, he boarded a train and arrived in Ponyville at around 9:15 that night. Upon his return home, he was informed of Turning's whereabouts and decided to head into the Everfree Forest to find him. When he arrived at the base of the bridge, in front of the castle of the Two Sisters, he was ambushed and murdered.
I wonder how many of those ponies on the left in the back are OCs of other people.
For currently unknown reasons. We believe this is why the victim was in the forest that night. He was trying to save his son.
I see. You'd certainly need a very good reason to be willing to head that far into the forest. If I recall correctly, that place is filled with all kinds of dangerous creatures, isn't it?
It is indeed, Your Honor. Figuring out why the victim chose to go so far into the forest was one of the key questions we had during our investigation. It was the statement of one Miss Devotion that cleared the matter up for us.
Miss Devotion?
The victim's wife, Fair Devotion. She's a substitute teacher at the local schoolhouse. While her husband was away in Canterlot, Miss Devotion would take care of her son all by herself. This on top of her demanding role as a teacher and member of the Ponyville School Board, you see.
She certainly sounds like a very kind, hard-working man.
Okay, now I'm even more suspicious of this.
She was home when the victim returned, and it was she who told him the Turning page had gone.
Just that one.
So the reason
Just that one line just
was to chase after his son.
made me not trust her even more.
That statement currently point to, yes.
It's hard to argue against that. I guess in that case, I'll just see what other information I can draw out of Private Eye.
Now, Miss Sykes, you may begin your cross-examination.
The victim, Royal Order, was stationed in Canterlot until late afternoon on the day of his murder.
Hold it! What was he doing there?
He was performing his routine duties as a guard. Nothing out of the ordinary.
What did those duties entail?
Monitoring doors, patrolling hallways, the standard fare.
So he was just your average, everyday guard?
I suppose you could say that, yes.
There was nothing special about his rank, his title, anything at all?
Well, as a detective, I can only know so much. What do you think, Princess Luna?
It's just as Detective Eye says. As someone who gave the victim his orders, I can say with certainty that there was nothing that set him apart from the other guards in our entourage. If you're looking for a motive defense, I'm sorry to say that you will not find it here.
Well, there you have it. You couldn't ask for a clearer answer than that.
Shoot. I was really hoping I would get something out of that. If he was just an ordinary guard, then that eliminates any potential motive that could be tied to his rank. Still, though, the way I shifted my question to Princess Luna, something still doesn't seem right.
Yeah, that is
Defense,
a weird thing to
please
do.
Stop staring at the witness and continue your cross-examination.
Yes. Sorry, Your Honor. I'll have to look into that later. Gotta continue pressing the detective for information now.
After his shift ended, he boarded a train and arrived in Ponyville at around 9:15 that night.
Hold it! How long had he stayed in Canterlot?
Nearly a month, according to our findings.
A month?
Royal Order often spent many weeks in Canterlot with little time to himself. Even when offered extended sabbaticals, he chose to forego them in service to the crown.
This fellow seemed like quite the workaholic.
Says the guy working on his vacation.
And the wife probably got mad about it.
To serving Equestria and maintaining harmony amongst its citizens. Whenever he wasn't on active duty, he spent all of his time with his family in Ponyville.
He certainly was the epitome of a Royal Guards pony. His death will surely echo a great sense of loss for both his country and those close to him.
That's odd. That sounded a lot more sorrowful than anything I would expect from Private Eye.
The day he was murdered was no different than any of his other off-duty times. He returned to Ponyville to visit his family. According to our investigation into the ticket purchases and train schedules for February 12th, Royal's train arrived in Ponyville at 9:15. He then headed straight home, arriving about 10 minutes later.
And what did the victim do once he got there?
Upon his return home, he was informed of Turning's whereabouts and decided to head into the Everfree Forest to find him.
So, it was Fair Devotion who told the victim that Turning Page had gone into the forest?
Indeed. We heard this from Miss Devotion herself.
And how did she know what her son was doing? I doubt she would have allowed Turning to go somewhere that dangerous.
During our investigation at the victim's house, we found a note written in Turning's handwriting confessing to his actions that night. Miss Devotion knew where her son had gone because of this note.
Alright.
Went to the Evergreen Forest. Be back soon. Succinct and straight to the point. Just what I would expect from Turning. If Miss Devotion was the one who discovered this note, why didn't she go after him as soon as she found it?
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Yourself, the Everfree Forest is a dangerous place, especially after dark. She knew Royal Order would be coming home soon, so she decided to wait until the more able-bodied pony had arrived before attempting to follow.
That's taking a big chance, though.
According to Miss Devotion, when Royal Order offered to go find him, she insisted on going with her husband, but he told her to stay put. She reluctantly complied and watched him leave at around 9:30.
Like you'd rather
It was the last time she ever saw him.
wait till he came home.
That sounds rather ominous. Like something right out of a horror movie.
Did the victim make any stops on his way to the forest?
I beg your pardon?
I'm just wondering if it's possible that the victim went somewhere else before entering the Everfree Forest.
I'm afraid we neglected to look into this matter, so I cannot say anything for certain.
The forest entrance is roughly 20 minutes away from the victim's house. The crime scene is about 35 minutes away from the entrance. The body was discovered at 10:30 p.m. Do the math, attorney. Do you really think the victim could have dawdled before entering the forest?
Considering there was only 5 extra minutes to do something else, I highly doubt it.
Well, not so fast, Prosecutor Luna.
Uh-oh.
Twilight?
Here we go.
What is it, Miss Sparkle?
The victim was a unicorn, wasn't he? Did he, by any chance, know how to teleport?
Yep.
That's right. I have to keep in mind that this is a world of magic. Not everything here follows the rules of my own world.
Detective, do you have the answer to Princess Twilight's question?
I do indeed, Your Highness. Royal Order was an incredibly gifted unicorn. Teleportation was just one of many spells he had long since mastered.
So, if he could teleport, then the time it would have taken the victim to travel between locations is irrelevant. Wouldn't you say?
You have a point, but as I'm sure one as proficient in magic as yourself is aware, one cannot teleport to locations that they've never been.
He probably didn't, though.
We could not find any indication that the victim had ever been to the castle of the Two Sisters before this incident. The best we could uncover were multiple instances of him and his son going to Froggy Bottom Bog to spar with the monsters that inhabit the area.
Froggy Bottom Bog, huh? I think I heard about
But that doesn't
place
mean...
yesterday. It's down the path that leads to the right from the crossroads.
I mean, he still would have walked there, though, but he could have teleported somewhere else before
We drove the forest.
going into the Everfree.
If one were to walk to Froggy Bottom Bog, they would first have to travel to the crossroads to get there.
So that means he could at least teleport as far as the crossroads, right? He must have been there before when traveling to his sparring sessions. If so, then he may have teleported to the crossroads first and walked the rest of the way to the castle. This could make his travel time 30 minutes at most.
I suppose that's a reasonable assumption to make. Then, are you saying that between 9:30 and 10, the victim was off doing something else? Why? His son had gone off into the Everfree Forest alone at night. Do you really think he'd waste time delaying his entrance into the forest? If anything, he would have used the extra half hour he had to search elsewhere in the woods. After all, it's not like he could have known exactly where his son was.
Yeah, that's true. It's kind of hard to believe that Royal Order would have risked his son's safety.
Yeah, but I wouldn't
for a detour,
count it out.
Given what we've heard about him so far. Twilight, any ideas?
Unfortunately, none. I didn't think this line of questioning was necessarily going to reveal anything case-breaking, but still, knowing that the victim had a half-hour period where he could act freely without heading to the crime scene, I think that might be something we'll want to keep in mind.
Bingo.
I agree. It might not be relevant, but you never know.
Miss Sykes, Miss Sparkle, if you aren't done whispering over there, then let's continue with the testimony.
Sorry, Your Honor. Private, please continue.
When he arrived at the base of the bridge, in front of the castle of the Two Sisters, he was ambushed and murdered.
Hold it! He was ambushed?
We believe so, yes.
What led you to that conclusion?
It was the bruise on the left side of his body. We believe that the assailant first delivered the blow to his torso in order to knock the victim to the ground. This was then followed up by at least 2 stabs to the head, the first of which must have killed the victim. If the victim had been on guard at the time, there isn't a chance some pony of his caliber would have been knocked down so easily. That is why we believe he was taken by surprise.
But walking through that dark, dangerous forest in the middle of the night, wouldn't the victim have been on guard regardless?
Perhaps. But you are forgetting something else, Miss Sykes. The victim was
Poison
suffering
joke.
from the
Yep.
effects of poison joke.
Weak knees!
Exactly. The poison joke caused the victim's legs to be weaker than normal. So, when his assailant struck him, even if he was completely on guard, it's hard to believe he wouldn't have been knocked to the ground.
I guess that's true.
That certainly seems to make sense. And what weapon are you proposing was used to knock the victim down?
We believe it was the sword of the defendant, Turning Page, my lord.
One of the defendants has a sword?
A wooden one, Your Honor. No need to worry. I have it right here. The defendant has been known to carry this sword everywhere he goes. That night was no different. According to our witness, when she last saw the defendant, his sword was still in one piece. Yet the sword you see now is broken. Turning Page's mother has also confirmed that his sword was undamaged earlier that day. The prosecution contends that the sword broke when it was used to attack the victim.
I see. That's definitely a strong possibility.
Objection!
Uh-oh.
Wait, hold on. That's not how the sword broke.
Oh?
Yes, it's true that the sword is broken right now, but that's because...
Objection! Before you explain it to
That was
us
a cool looking
defense,
font.
I would like you to tell us from where you learned this alternate interpretation.
From where? Well, I guess it was from Turning Page.
From the defendant himself, in other words? Do you truly believe that story to be reliable in that case? Unless you have some proof to back up his story, I think you do well to keep it to yourself for now.
Huh? For now?
In any case, the prosecution
See,
recognizes
I like
their
that.
own evidence on the matter is circumstantial. More definitive evidence may yet
She's being a little
claim to be
snarky, but
false.
she's
At the
also
moment, however, this interpretation
she's also
of
trying to help
events
them.
surrounding the sword is the most likely scenario.
The court agrees with the prosecution.
No! I know that's not how it happened. That sword broke when Turning used it to attack those blackmailing bullies. But unless I can find some proof of that, I'm not going to be able to convince anyone. Ugh, this sucks. If only I could get those two on the stand. One of them might have a bruise somewhere that I could point out. That'll have to wait until later, though. I had to finish this testimony first.
So I assume that this sword of the defendant's was also used to stab the victim?
No, that was a
It
scooter.
was not, Your Honor. There wasn't a single trace of blood on the sword. No forensic spell or potion could reveal even a single drop.
But then, what was used to stab the victim?
Oh boy, here it comes.
Yep.
It was a possession belonging to the other defendant, Miss Scootaloo. She stabbed him using her scooter.
Yep.
A scooter? How is that even possible? Scooters aren't sharp. Are they?
Not normally, my lord. But in this case, the scooter in question was broken.
Broken? How?
The left handlebar was snapped off, leaving behind a sharp, exposed bolt which could easily puncture a body.
You can see it in the photo I submitted earlier, Your Honor. The scooter was unquestionably at the scene, and I have it recorded right here that the bolt itself was covered in blood. When tested, we discovered that the blood was indeed the victim's.
What? Order! Order, I say! I must admit, as unbelievable as it appeared to be at first, the more I listen, the more it seems like these two kids really did commit.
No.
As regrettable as it is to think
They
so,
did.
the
Because we
evidence
still have another episode.
to that conclusion. The victim arrived on the scene and was ambushed by his son, Turning Page. He used his sword to hit his father's left side. This attack caused the sword to break. Thanks to the poison joke affliction that the victim was suffering at the time, he couldn't resist the impact and was knocked to the ground. At that point, the other assailant, Scootaloo, rushed to the victim's side. She stabbed him in the head multiple times with the scooter before he could even react to what was happening.
Yes, that does seem to be what happened, given the evidence so far.
Wait a second. I think there might be a contradiction in the sequence of events. Although, I might be overthinking this. No. I have to be onto something here. Right?
Don't doubt yourself, Athena.
There you go.
Twilight?
If you think there's a contradiction, then go for it. I'll be right here with you.
Right. Thanks, Twilight.
How'd you know
Your
that, though?
Honor, I would like what Private Eye just said to be added to his testimony.
Very well. Detective, if you please.
Certainly, my lord. The victim was knocked to the ground and then stabbed before he could even react.
Objection! Private Eye, there's a contradiction in your testimony.
Oh? Please, do tell.
Yes, enlighten us, defense. What is this supposed contradiction?
I'm loving this.
Right. It's written here in the autopsy report. Cause of death was a single stab wound to the right temple that caused immediate death, followed by at least one more post-mortem.
It does say that, yes, but I fail to see how this contradicts the witness's testimony.
Well, Your Honor, it's simple. If the victim was first knocked to the ground by a blow to his left side, as Private Eye claims, then tell me this. Which side of the victim's head would be facing up?
Well, that would be the left side.
But it was on the right.
Oh!
Exactly, Your Honor. The victim would land with the left side of his head facing up, meaning it would be impossible to stab him in the right temple.
Ah.
Order! Order! That's certainly a puzzling contradiction. The victim couldn't possibly have been stabbed in the right temple if he were in that position. Prosecutor Luna, any thoughts?
You certainly pose an interesting dilemma, defense. So, are you implying that the victim was first stabbed in the head and then hit in the torso? It would certainly help your case if you were. After all, a child would have a much more difficult time trying to stab a fully grown stallion in the head if he were standing up straight, even if one of them was a unicorn.
Is that what I'm implying here? Could the victim have been stabbed before he was struck?
That can't be it, Athena. Think back to the autopsy report one more time.
You're right, Twilight.
Yeah, because you got
Well, Miss
bruised
Sykes,
first,
is what the prosecution said
then got
true?
stabbed in the head.
Are you claiming that the victim was first stabbed and then struck?
I'm not, Your Honor.
You aren't?
Intriguing. And why not, defense?
It says so right here in the autopsy report. The victim suffered a large bruise on the left side of his torso ante-mortem. He was hit before he was killed. Since the autopsy report notes that the victim was instantly killed by the first stab wounds, that means it would have been impossible for the victim to have been struck in the torso after he was stabbed.
did it!
Way to go, Athena.
Let's see how the princess tries to get out of this.
Oh, don't
one.
say that.
Prosecutor Luna,
Don't say that.
do you have an explanation for this seemingly unexplainable contradiction?
Of course I do.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Wait, what?
Can explain it? Then please share your theory with the court.
At once, Your Honor. As the defense has so eagerly demonstrated for us, the victim's autopsy report creates quite a few perplexing contradictions. However, there are two explanations that can clear them all up.
Two?
The first is a rather simple one. After the victim was struck, he fell onto something sharp, and it pierced his head, killing him.
The victim fell onto the murder weapon?
Well, it might not be right to call it a murder weapon. After all, there's no proof to indicate that the assailant ever intended on killing the victim, should this be the case. And the crime scene was a forest, after all. Who knows what could be on the ground? All kinds of dangerous objects, I'm sure.
Indeed. This murder could very well have been an accident in that case. But then, wouldn't the object that took the victim's life still be at the scene? You would have found it there, wouldn't you?
Not if the culprit took it away in a panic or in fear.
And what about the blood on the scooter?
That could have been the result of our real culprit wishing to frame Miss Scootaloo for the crime. Even if it was an accident, the culprit still wouldn't want to be caught. They would likely fabricate a weapon to avoid their punishment. In truth, while the stab wound in question is quite similar in shape to the exposed bolt on the scooter, irregularities were discovered during the examination, which indicates that it's possible two different items could have stabbed the victim.
I see.
Holy shit.
You mean the culprit is...
Indeed, Your Honor. The evidence, as it stands, suggests that Turning Page was the one who knocked the victim over. On top of that, out of the two defendants, he's the only one who would benefit from making a fake weapon out of the scooter.
If that's the case, then everything would line up, wouldn't it?
What do you think, defense? Do you wish to argue that this was all an accident, perpetrated by Turning Page alone?
You're going up against the wrong person if you think you can manipulate me into saying what you want, Princess. That being said, if I did argue that this was what happened, I could get Turning Page's sentence reduced significantly, and Scootaloo would be off the hook completely. Is that what I should do? Turning did say he'd be willing to take the blame for this, but... Turning's
No, you gotta do
Is
it.
he trying to tell me to let him take the fall?
No, don't
If I
do it.
That, then
Athena?
I'm not sure what to do here, Twilight. The way things are going, I could very easily get Scootaloo off the hook and Turning a light prison sentence.
That would have everything turn out just as Turning asked back in the defendant lobby.
But I don't think I should do that. If I do, that'll just mean we're admitting that Turning killed his own father, even if only by accident. And that will undoubtedly have a severe effect on him. His family, his peers, they'd never look at him or treat him the same way again. It'd ruin his life.
Even so, Turning seems to be satisfied with that.
Well, I'm not. I don't care if he thinks it'd be a good thing to do. Because it isn't. I'm supposed to look out for both his and Scootaloo's best interest. And him taking the blame isn't what she wants. So if Luna's got some sort of trap waiting for me, bring it on. I'll never admit that either of them had anything to do with Royal Order's death.
If that's the path you're going down, then don't you worry. I've got your back.
Thank you, Twilight.
Miss Sykes, if you're done whispering to your co-counsel, then tell us. Do you intend to argue that this murder was, in fact, an accident?
No, Your Honor. I do not.
You don't?
The defense's stance is simply this. We assert that neither Scootaloo nor Turning Page had any hand, or hoof, rather, in this murder.
There you go.
I thought you might say that. How ambitious of you, little golden pixie.
The what is she coming up with these names?
Case, you are admitting that the second explanation for our autopsy contradiction is the correct one?
Yes, of course. As soon as I figure out what that is.
Not so confident, are you? Perhaps once we elucidate the matter, you'll see the folly of your actions. Private Eye, if you please.
At once, Princess. If the issue is merely in regards to the claim that the victim didn't have time to react before getting stabbed, then the solution is simple. He did react. When he was knocked over, he must have lifted his head to see who hit him. Once he did, his right temple would have been exposed, allowing the second assailant a chance to stab him there.
You're right. That does clear up the contradiction quite nicely.
Well then, there you have it. If the defense refuses to argue that this was an accident, then this is the only other possibility that fits the evidence.
This isn't good. Unless I can poke a hole in this theory, we're gonna be up a creek with no paddle. There must be something we're overlooking.
I just realized Widget's face changes.
Excuse me, Golden Pixie.
Yeah?
I see you're straining yourself over there. No doubt desperately clawing for some sort of advantage in this argument.
Was it that obvious?
Unfortunately, I'm afraid you're not going to find one. Just look over the evidence again, and I'm sure you'll realize you're fighting on the wrong side of this debate.
What? I'm fighting on the wrong side. Why did Luna say that? Was that supposed to be... Come on.
God.
Luna, think. Fighting on the wrong side.
See, this is what I was hoping for.
On the wrong side. The evidence shows that I'm fighting on the wrong... Your Honor,
Oh,
there's
that
no way
face.
the murder could have played out the way the prosecution is claiming it did.
Oh? How so, Miss Sykes?
Let's look back at the photo of the crime scene. Here, we can see an outline of the body as it was at the time of the discovery. Looking at it, don't you find it to be a little odd?
Odd? What do you mean? The victim is on his side, just as
Yeah,
the
he's
prosecution
laying on his
claimed.
left side with his right
Yes.
side showing.
Back to the earlier theory. The victim was hit on the left side of his torso and was knocked to the ground. Now, if he was hit on the left side, then his right side should have been what hit the ground, right?
Yes, I suppose so.
And yet, in this photo, we can clearly see the victim fell on his left side.
Oh! You're right! Order! Order! Prosecutor Luna, do you have an explanation for this? This completely overturns your entire case.
Quite literally, in fact.
You aren't fazed by it?
I'm afraid not, Your Honor. Sorry to disappoint you.
So then, do you have an explanation for this after all?
Perhaps we should allow the one who brought this to our attention an opportunity to explain it first.
Me?
I get the feeling Luna
Well,
already knows what happened,
I just pointed out the
but she's just trying to like help Athena.
thought about what it means yet.
Well, one thing it could mean, Prosecutor Luna, is that the police made a mistake when they were outlining the body.
I assure you, no mistakes were made. I saw to the removal of the body myself. The tape outline was made around the body just before it was removed. Private Eye can confirm this, as he was also there at the time.
Yes. The tape was laid down before the body was moved. There's no chance it was a mistake on our part.
If that's the case, then this contradiction eliminates the possibility of this being an accidental killing. The victim couldn't have fallen on something if he ended up with his stabbed side facing towards the sky.
Indeed. And what else?
Well...
Oh, I think I got it. it would also mean that the body itself had to have been moved, right?
How so?
If the side of his body that was hit somehow ended up facing the ground,
They would have had to
it
flip
would
him.
mean that whoever killed him must have moved the body from somewhere else and placed it down incorrectly. I don't know if that was by accident or on purpose, but the body had to have been moved.
And why couldn't the explanation be as simple as the victim himself having rolled over after being hit? Or having his feet swept out from under him, causing him to fall
I love
on his
this.
left side?
Because
She's
if he
like
really did land on his right side of
sneakily helping him.
and then
I love
rolled
it.
over, he would have ended up facing away from his attacker, regardless of which direction he rolled. I doubt he would have wanted to let them out of his sight.
As for why the assailant couldn't have swept out his knees, the autopsy report doesn't mention anything about the victim's knees being injured. Even if they were weak at the time, some bruise or mark would have been left behind if they were hit with enough force to topple him over.
There's no doubt that the victim must have fallen over when he was hit. His legs were far too weak to support him after suffering the blow to his side.
So, how's that for an answer, Prosecutor Luna? The victim's body was moved after he was killed. That's the only way he could have ended up being found with the left side of his body facing the ground.
The only way?
Oh.
Are you sure about that?
Ay, caramba. Now!
I think you are forgetting one last possibility.
And what would that be, Prosecutor Luna?
First, let's review what we've uncovered so far. We know that the victim was struck on his left side, which undoubtedly caused him to fall on his right side. However, when the body was discovered, the victim was found to have fallen on his left side. Between the time the victim fell over and the time the body was discovered, the victim must have moved to account for this change in positioning.
Exactly. The culprit, after killing the victim, moved the body.
That's not necessarily the case, Golden Pixie.
What do you mean?
Undoubtedly, the victim was knocked over after he was hit. But who's to say that's also when he died?
You mean?
Could have been killed later.
Yes, I do. The victim was not stabbed when he was knocked to the ground. Instead, after he was knocked over, he managed to stand himself back up. After an unspecified amount of time, he was then stabbed in the right temple, which caused him to fall over onto his left side.
Order in the
We're still on the first witness, by the way. Jesus Christ.
I believe I must side with the prosecution stance.
What? But why?
Your theory of the body being moved, while plausible, simply lacks enough evidence to back it up, and leaves too many questions unanswered. If the body was moved, who moved it, why, and from where?
Those are all, really good questions, Your Honor.
Oh, why thank you, Miss Sykes. I have been doing this for quite some time, you know.
God damn
If
it.
you wish to pursue the theory of the body having been moved, you'll need to first disprove that he was killed at the castle ruins. All of the evidence presented in the trial so far points towards the likelihood of the murder occurring there. Furthermore,
No, it wasn't.
from the crime
The
scene
Nightmare
suggests
Moon
that the murder
statue.
may have occurred elsewhere. Right, defense?
There it is again. She's hinting at something. What does she want me
He
to see?
got stabbed in the head
Missing from the crime
on the
scene?
edge of that statue. I remember that.
There, isn't it? The scooter that stabbed the victim, the body itself, the... Wait a second. The body that was stabbed is there. But there's something else that should be there but isn't. This is it! Your Honor, the defense has evidence to counter the prosecution's claims.
Then please show it to us, Miss Sykes.
Look at this photo one more time. There's a grave contradiction contained within it.
No blood.
Contradiction? Where?
Right here, Your Honor. Take that! Look at the area near the head of the victim. If we go by the prosecution's theory, then the victim would have fallen in the place he was stabbed. However, if that was the case, then there should be a pool of blood around the victim's
Yep.
head.
Yes, there should be.
Because it's at the statue.
Picture. What do you see?
There's no blood at all.
And that's precisely the significant contradiction in that photo, Your Honor. An area that should be caked in blood has no trace of it whatsoever. If the crime scene lacks even a drop of blood to speak of, that casts significant doubt over whether the victim was stabbed there at all.
Indeed it does, Miss Sykes.
So, how could this be the case, you might ask? The answer is obvious. The victim's body was moved from somewhere else to the castle ruins. That's the only possibility.
Interesting claim, Golden Pixie. And you sounded so triumphant while making it, too. It's a shame that it's completely flawed.
Bullshit.
How?
True, there doesn't appear to be any blood on the scene right now. But once I bring my next witness to the stand, that tune of yours will surely change.
This other witness. Time to see if it's who I think it is.
Damn, about time we're getting to it.
Detective, you may leave the stand, but please remain in the courtroom. We may need your opinion on other matters as they come up.
Of course, my lord.
Now then, let the prosecution's next witness take the stand.
The mom. Oh, Sakura. Okay.
Witness, please state
So that's when
your
she
name
shows
and
up.
occupation
Okay.
for the record.
My name is Zakora, an apothecary. I make my home in the Everfree.
You live in the Everfree Forest?
You're a zebra?
Oh,
Wow.
right. I guess I forgot to mention that, didn't I?
Yeah, kind of.
And Apple Bloom both.
And you say you're an apothecary?
Yes, Your Honor, I am indeed. Crafting potions is my creed. The forest creatures are bizarre, but their wonders are unmatched by far.
Interesting.
I just noticed that she's right. Oh boy. I really hope that this doesn't mean what I think it might.
Let's get back on topic.
Yeah, have fun.
Witness, is it true that on the night of the murder, you were the one
Oh,
who
how much
discovered
fun they had writing the script for that.
Yes, quite sadly this is true. It was a scene most gruesome too.
Then please, give us your testimony in relation to this gruesome discovery.
Of course, Your Honor. I shall speak. I'm sorry for this tale is bleak. That evening, I was tending to the plants near my home. Two little ponies passed, heading towards the castle dome. For a while I waited, but return they did not. So I chose to head home at an agile trot. But soon I heard a strange far-off sound. I ran to where those ponies were bound. On my way, a small shadow my eyes did track, but it jumped away before I could react. Upon arrival, what met my gaze I'll not forget for all my days. A pony's body, still with blood around his head, turning earth to mud. Once I was sure that he was dead, to the police I quickly fled.
Hard enough sifting through testimonies without having to decipher them first.
It must have been horrifying to see a dead body that night. But if the Everfree Forest is as dangerous as you say it is, well, wouldn't bodies be a common sight?
Most creatures are clean with the food they hunt, but a corpse in the open? A surprise, to be blunt.
Considering...
Saw blood on the ground around the body?
Of all the life that he had bled, a ring of red lay around his head.
Objection! That's impossible. We checked the area ourselves. Even this photograph shows there was no trace of
She didn't
blood.
find it there.
Your testimony is completely contradictory.
Do not point your rage at me. I have told you all I've seen.
Perhaps I can shed some light on this matter.
Do you have something that can explain this contradiction, Prosecutor Luna?
Of course, Your Honor. I'd look rather silly if I didn't.
Very well. Please explain for us.
As was just stated, this witness was the one who reported the body to the police. He accompanied them to the crime scene, and they found it in exactly the same state as she just described, the victim lying in a pool of his own blood. I have here a photograph of that very scene.
The fuck?
You're right. The victim does appear to be lying in a pool of blood.
But why was it gone the next day?
That will become clear soon enough. First, the prosecution would like to submit this evidence to court, along with this photograph.
Oh god, there's blood on it.
And what is this?
It's a cape, Your Honor. The emblem on it denotes it as belonging to the Cutie Mark Crusaders, the group of which the defendant, Scootaloo, is a member.
That must be the third cape that Private Eye said the police had taken for examination.
As you can see in this earlier photograph, 2 more of these capes, as well as the fabric used to line their undersides, laid in this
I'm
wagon.
just surprised Sakura isn't a suspect, since she lives in the Everfree.
Wickering stallions! Just what were the defendants up to in that forest?
We'll cover that in a moment. For now, I would like to draw further attention to this cape here. Upon testing it, we found that it was absolutely drenched in the victim's blood.
The cape was covered in blood?
I wouldn't say drenched. There's a little.
Someone tried to clean up
There's
the
a
crime scene?
there's a big spot on
I
it,
could
but
imagine that to be the case. Going by where this cape was found, I'd say there's another more likely possibility.
Where was it found?
This cape was discovered underneath the victim's body, specifically under his head.
You mean that pool of blood Zecora saw?
It appears as though the little golden pixie has figured it out. When the police went to examine the blood, they discovered that it wasn't blood at all. It was actually this cape right here.
So, she was on the wrong track all along.
Looks like it. Yup.
Now do you understand, defense? When the victim fell to the ground after being stabbed, he must have fallen on top of this cape. Any blood that seeped from his wound would have trailed down his face and been absorbed by the cloth. When the witness came across it, she mistook the cape for blood due to its red color. The fact that there was no blood at the scene is completely irrelevant. After all, it was the police
that's not
themselves
it.
who removed it.
This can't be right.
it's not.
Dragging things out like this for those 2 children is just cruel. Even if they're guilty, why can't the lawyers see that?
Order! Order! My word! It seems as if the defense's argument has been completely overturned.
Indeed it has, Your Honor. Despite what they claimed, it's clear that the body was never moved. The scene of the crime was
I am like.
of the bridge. The blood on this cape proves it. And, as luck would have it, I have
I'm probably gonna be wrong, but I am just.
crushed the defense's
I think it was the
once
mom.
and for all.
No, please, no more.
Upon examining the area where the cape lay, thanks to forensic spell testing, we discovered traces of blood underneath the area around the victim's head.
Really?
It seems as if the cape absorbed more blood than it could handle, and some of it leaked through to the ground below. Further testing of this blood revealed that it belonged to the victim. Your Honor, I submit to
Doesn't
you
mean
the
that
photo
that's
of
where
the
it was,
victim's
though.
body, as well as the blood-stained cape as evidence.
Very well. The court accepts them.
He was killed at the statue, moved over to there, and she placed the cape under his head to frame Scootaloo.
Defense, care to share your thoughts on the matter?
Not if I don't want to get held in contempt of court.
It seems the Golden Pixie has been rendered speechless in the face of such irrefutable evidence.
Just ignore her. Ignore I'm not gonna lose. Time to get my brain in gear. There has to be something off in her theory. Luna's saying that the body was never moved. The reason there was no blood at the scene is because it was absorbed by the cape. In that case, the victim would have stood up after being knocked over by turning. Afterwards, Scootaloo hit him in the head with the scooter, which knocked him to the ground again. Is there anything wrong with that series of events? Wait a second. If the victim was standing up when he was stabbed, then wouldn't it be impossible for—
Miss Sykes! Do you, or do you not, have any objections to the prosecutor's theory?
You bet I do.
Feigning confidence will get you nowhere, defense.
Objection! Your Honor, the defense would like to point out a flaw in the prosecution's theory.
Then get on with it!
Yes, Your Honor. The issue has to do with the victim's fatal stab wound being inflicted while the victim was standing upright. I would think stabbing an adult at such a height would be nearly impossible for a child. Correct?
Objection! You forget that the owner of that scooter is a Pegasus. What's stopping them from simply flying up and stabbing?
Because Scootaloo can't fly.
Funny you should mention that. I heard something from the defendant in question yesterday that clears up this matter. Namely, the fact that Miss Scootaloo can't fly.
What? Order! Order! Prosecutor Luna, is this true? If Miss Scootaloo can't fly, then there's no way she could have stabbed a stallion in the head while he was standing.
Of course she couldn't.
Can I take you by surprise at least?
No, because she already knows what happened.
What said is absolutely true. I have the medical report from Scootaloo's doctor right here. Contrary to Pegasus fillies her age, her wings haven't fully developed yet, and thus, she cannot fly.
But if you knew that, then why were you arguing that she could have stabbed somewhere she couldn't even reach?
Now, when did I ever claim that?
Well, damn.
All I ever claimed was that some pony stabbed him whilst he was standing upright. If it was impossible for Scootaloo to have done so, then that leaves only one option, doesn't it?
Uh-oh.
Turning Page is a talented unicorn.
Yep, I knew that was going to come up.
And levitation is a relatively simple spell to learn, even for colts and fillies. I'm sure he'd have no problem levitating the scooter up to his father's head and stabbing him with it.
Objection! Princess Luna, if you choose to claim that, then Scootaloo would have done nothing wrong. Am I right?
Princess Twilight, please explain what you mean.
It's simple, Your Honor. If Turning Page was the one who assaulted his father, and then proceeded to stab him in the head with the scooter, then Scootaloo would be completely innocent. Nothing but a bystander at most. Am I right, Princess Luna?
We shall see. First, I think it's time for the defense's cross-examination of our witness. We've been putting that off for long enough now.
Yeah. I kind of forgot that Zecora was even here.
Very well. Let us begin the cross-examination.
Alright guys, sorry for the weird cut here. I had to kind of change my location. So, yeah, I kind of hate to do that, but it is what it is. So, gonna just go ahead and pick this back up and continue on.
Wrong.
Including that poison joke in front of your home?
Yes, they're blooming but not quite grown, since only recently they were sown.
Are these plants of yours hard to find?
Many flowers around my home can't grow without the forest gnome. They're so rare that to meet my needs, I search the forest for their seeds. I tend to them both day and night, and harvest them when the time is right. But poison joke differs. It's often seen in a sproul, but at this time of year, it hardly grows at all.
So you scour the forest for plants. Did you happen to
Was
do
she
that on the
growing
day of
poison
the
joke?
murder?
I searched quite long that day, From dawn to dusk, I was away. When I got home with the seeds I sought, I tended to my garden plot.
Did you happen to visit the castle of the two sisters?
Interesting.
Yes, for along that castle's cliffside, sometimes rare flowers peek and hide. Sadly, when my search was done, I left without finding a single one.
Just to confirm, the body didn't happen to be at the foot of the bridge at that time, did it?
I understand what you mean to say, but no, the body wasn't there that day.
We already know when the victim died. It was long after this witness was scouring the area for plants. Stop wasting our time with these pointless questions and move on.
Well, at least I got some information. Not exactly sure how helpful it was, though.
Please, continue, witness.
Two little ponies passed, heading towards the
Yeah,
castle.
calm down. She said it was just to confirm.
Happened to see who they were?
Of the colt I had no clue, but the filly was Miss Scootaloo.
So you saw the children walking through the forest
So
that
how
night?
does that factor
It surely
into
was a curious sight. Two foals traveling solo that night. The
the
forest
guard
was well
getting
known,
affected by
so
it?
I thought, what are they doing alone?
They were going to settle the blackmail with Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon. But I can't bring that up yet. It'll just be rejected outright.
These two ponies. Was there anything about them that caught your eye?
Scootaloo looked frightened, but that wasn't so strange. The forest scares any pony of any age. The colt was holding something thick, but not with his hooves, but with magic.
And what was that?
It was a bolt of fabric, rolled. The moonlight showed that it was gold.
That checks out with what Scootaloo said yesterday. How Turning Page offered to carry it for her just in case.
This matches what we found at the crime scene, as there was a roll of golden silk left behind in the wagon.
It would seem that way.
He also carried a weapon, a sword of solid wood. Given where they were going, I thought this was good.
And I'm assuming this sword was in one piece. Am I right?
Indeed, there wasn't a single crack. The sword appeared fully intact.
So the defendant's sword really was whole while heading to the scene.
And it then broke when he used it to attack the victim.
Indeed. That's seeming more and more likely.
At some point here, I need to counter with how the sword really broke. But I'm still missing the evidence to support Turning's version of events. One way or another, I'm going to have to find it soon.
Witness, please continue your testimony.
Yeah, I mean, we can already do that.
But return they did not, so I chose to head home at an agile trot.
You just stood on the path and waited?
It would not have done to stand and wait, for time has an unchanging gait. Along the central path nearby, some plants were quite nearly bone dry. These I tended by the light of the moon, expecting the foals to come back soon.
How long were you waiting for them?
I worked from 9:45 to about 10:10, so a half hour had nearly passed by then.
And you just stood there, taking care of plants the whole time? Weren't you worried about two kids going so far into the forest by themselves?
Of course I was! Who wouldn't be? After all, they were in the Everfree. But for all that time there was no sound, nor any sign that they were found. On the path I kept one eye, in case they returned or another passed by.
I guess no one ever came then?
No,
Yeah, I figured
indeed,
you'd go after
neither
them.
pony nor foal. I finished my work without seeing a soul. So I decided to head home and rest, until I heard something that brought dread to my chest. But soon I heard a strange far-off sound. I ran to where those ponies were bound.
Noise?
It sounded unlike anything I'd ever heard. Not a bear, manticore, wolf, or bird. I could hear it echo around, a strangely loud metallic sound.
You mean like a clang?
It was a particular tone to hear. though Clang does suit well with what reached my ear.
This again? First a fabric roll and now a clang? Any other similarities to the case from 2 days ago I should know about? Do you know
Metallic.
when you heard this clang?
As soon as I heard it, I checked the time. It was 10:15 right on the dime.
And do you know where it came from?
I know not much to my shame. I could not tell from where it came.
Well, I mean, that obviously couldn't be the
remembered where the
statue.
surgeon were headed. The
That's not
sound
made of
coming
metal.
from there was a thought I dreaded.
So, what did you do then?
I made up my mind to find the foals. Reaching and protecting them were my goals. That plan was briefly sent awry when something weird caught my eye. On my way, a small shadow my eyes did track, but it jumped away before I could react.
Hold it! A small shadow?
I wish I could describe it more than just weird, but it left as soon as it had appeared. Still, it was rather odd to me, so I included it with my testimony.
Do you know when and where you saw this shadow?
5 minutes after would be the when, so I'd wager it was 10:20 then. Where is difficult, I must confess, as Everfree has no address.
Here, witness. Point it out on this diagram.
You have my thanks, Princess Luna. Now let me fill this lacuna. Ah, yes, it was this spot right here. Or, at least, someplace near.
So just on the path?
I thought we were on the path towards collision, but then it jumped out of my line of vision.
For those unaware, the Everfree Forest is notorious for being absolutely pitch black at night. The intense tree cover prevents most forms of light from reaching the forest floor.
So between your hut and the
This
bridge.
incident occurred on the night of a full moon, so sunlight was able to illuminate the areas that lacked direct cover from trees. Unfortunately, the rest of the forest remained as pitch black as one would expect it to be.
Was there any detail about the shadow you could make out at all? Shape? Size? Anything?
Even in darkness, there was one distinct feature. At the very least, it seemed like a small creature.
Small? Like a child?
That's what I thought after what I'd seen. I looked for them, seeing only the forest green. I tried calling out, hoping they would return, but if they had responded, I could not discern. Perhaps they cared not to heed me well, or perhaps my voice drowned under the howling swell.
Howling?
Diamond
Yes,
Tiara
and
or
quite
Silver
loudly,
Spoon?
For one main reason, 'tis now the Timberwolves' hunting season. Whenever they are on the prowl, they raise their canine heads and howl. On that night they were easily
Or-
and they kept going undeterred. When they stopped,
Maybe
I do
Sweetie
not
Belle?
know. By then I knew it was time to go.
What do you think made them howl?
Maybe she followed them out there?
Certainly not me. To a Timberwolf's mind, I cannot see. As I have told you, it's their hunting season. But truthfully, it could be for any reason.
Let's focus on what we can answer then, shall we? Witness, what did you see once you arrived at the scene?
Upon arrival, what met my gaze I'll not forget for all my days. A pony's body, still with blood around his head, turning earth to mud.
Hold it! But it wasn't blood. It was a cape, right?
I'll admit my interpretation was flawed, but if you don't have a problem, don't needlessly prod.
You didn't check to make sure?
When I came upon the former guard of the law, his stillness shocked me, not a breath did he draw. Creeping closer to his still build, I hoped my fears would be dashed by thrills, but my suspicions proved correct, as I realized when I checked his neck. No pulse of life-giving blood I found. He was as dead as winter's ground.
And what did you do after that?
That gruesome discovery sent me reeling and gave me a terrible, sickening feeling. The moment I reclaimed my head, I glanced about, filled with dread. there were still the children I needed to find, and their fates were plaguing my mind. Thankfully, as I looked around, no other bodies could be found. Merely a scooter and a wagon lay amidst the frightening horde display.
There was no one nearby?
Perhaps that shadow, of which I caught sight, was one of the children in mid-flight. The other could have simply hid while farewell to that scene I bid. But that's just one thought in my mind, since no other figures I did find.
You sure? There was nobody there at all? Maybe, hiding in the trees or something?
Objection! Continuing to press the issue won't yield a different answer, defense. I suggest you move on before you waste all of our time.
Well, excuse me, princess. Nothing wrong with double checking, now is there?
Witness, what happened after you found the body?
Once I was sure
I can't really
he was dead, to the police I quickly fled.
make much out of Sakura's
Did you
testimony.
happen to run into anyone on your way there?
While leaving the forest, I saw not a soul. It was, ironically, a more pleasant stroll.
I see. And how long did it take you to get to the police station?
I'm not sure. My sense of time dissolved amidst the thoughts of the crime.
Let's puzzle it out then, shall we? Witness, you claim to have left your house at 10:15. Is that correct?
Yes, it is exactly as you claim. I left right as the odd noise came.
From there, you headed to the scene of the crime, which we have confirmed was a roughly 15-minute walk. This means you arrived around 10:30.
Music stops, so something's gonna happen.
How long would you say you stayed there?
Well, it doesn't feel right to make a guess. I'd say 5 minutes, more or less.
So you left at 10:35. The walk out of the ruins and then back through the forest is approximately 35 minutes. The police station itself is another 10 minutes away from the forest. This puts the witness arriving there around 11:20 that night.
Those are some very nice calculations, Prosecutor Luna.
Oh, come on. Don't be that impressed.
The best is yet to come, Your Honor. I have here a report from that very station. It confirms that this witness notified the police of a body around that time.
Order! Order!
Great.
Right.
Instead of casting doubt on her testimony, I just made it even more reliable. Come on. Oh, this is just hopeless. There's not a single contradiction. What am I supposed to do?
Enough! I believe we have reached the end of this cross-examination.
Agreed, Your Honor. I don't think our golden pixie can take much more. Best we put her out of her misery now.
What about you, defense? Are you finished with this testimony? As far as the court can see, there were no contradictions contained within it. As things stand, we will have to trust in what the witness has told us. If you have a rebuttal, Miss Sykes, now would be the time to give it.
Yeah, sure. I'll get right on it with a whole lot of nothing I can even say. Twilight? Do you have any ideas?
Well, just one, but...
Great. What is it?
I don't think it's a good idea, though.
Well, just tell it to me anyway. We can decide together.
I don't think we have the time for that, Athena. Let's just keep following the flow of the trial.
There's gotta be
Maybe
something.
something else will come up later that we can tackle.
No, you can't just let this slide. This testimony is too damaging. We have to strike now.
I understand that, Athena. I do. But right now, I don't think there's anything more
I
we
mean,
can do.
But
jeez.
we can't just give up, Twilight. You said you
Do you
tried
have any
help
other-
any way you could. If you have an idea for how to get us out of this mess, even if it's awful, you have to tell me. Otherwise, we'll lose.
I know that. But I can't let you do this. I've seen it happen before, and it's not worth it. There has to be another way.
There is no other way. We need to do something right now. We can't let Scootaloo or Turning Page down.
I'm not saying we should give up. I'm just saying that
Unless you two are interested in
Yeah,
sharing
man, you
with
might as well
the
just
court
hear
what
it.
you are squabbling about, I I believe it is time we moved on.
No! I can't let this happen. If I let this testimony stand, I'll never be able to recover from it.
Very well. Witness, thank you for your time. You may...
Objection! Wait, hold on. There's something about the witness's testimony that I find strange.
Oh, really now? Please, do tell.
Athena, stop!
Sorry, Twilight, but I can't just sit and wait for an opportunity to show itself. I have to knock this testimony down now.
This better not be a bluff, Miss Sykes.
Of course it isn't, Your Honor.
It totally is.
Shut up, Widget.
Talking to yourself, are we?
Don't let them distract you, Athena. If Twilight doesn't want to help me, then I'll just have to figure this out by myself. But there aren't any contradictions or flaws. What now? What would Mr. Wright do here?
You should turn that off.
Thinking around. Think outside of the box. If I can't cast doubt on the testimony itself, then what if I just cast doubt on the one testifying? Is there a way to do that?
Miss Sykes, I've had enough of you wasting this court's time. Present your rebuttal, or let us move on.
Yes, Your Honor. Here goes nothing. So, actually, the previous testimony didn't have any noticeable contradictions in it.
What? Is that not what we've been saying this whole time?
Yes, but, well, what if we think about this another way?
Another way?
Athena.
According to the testimony, Zecora saw Scootaloo and Turning Page headed towards the crime scene. She heard a noise and headed there herself. On the way, she came across the two running away from the scene, and shortly afterwards, she arrived on the site.
And right there, she found the dead body of one royal order. I see no point in us repeating all of this.
Well, let's think about that last point for a minute. As we established earlier, the victim suffered both a blow to the side and a stab to the head. What's more, we know for a fact that after the victim was knocked to the ground, he managed to get back up again.
Quite so. Our current theory is that Turning Page was the one who hit him, using his sword. However, if he was killed right at that moment, the stab wound would be on the opposite side of his head. Therefore, he must have had an opportunity to stand upright before being stabbed and falling over again.
Right. But as was pointed out earlier, Scootaloo could not have been the one to inflict the fatal wound. She can't fly, so she wouldn't have been able to stab Royal Order in the head after he stood up.
Which leads us to the conclusion that it must have been Turning Page. He used his magic to stab the victim with the scooter. There wasn't anyone else on the scene who could have done it, after all.
This is it. Now's my chance. I may not personally believe what I'm about to say, but I don't have a choice now. My hand's been forced. But there was someone on the scene, actually. After Scootaloo and Turning Page fled, someone else arrived and had the perfect opportunity to murder the victim.
Athena, please.
Wait! You aren't saying...
Defense?
Let's assume that Turning Page really did hit his father, and he fell to the ground. Now, at that point, who's to say
I know what
Scootaloo
she's
and
about to
Turning Page
do.
right then, without killing him?
Then that would mean...
Oh,
the
that's
one who showed up
dirty.
on the scene after they left would have...
Exactly. Given this scenario, it's entirely possible that our witness, Miss Zecora, is Royal Order's true killer.
What?
Order! Order in the court! Miss Sykes, are you saying that her whole testimony was one giant lie made to cover up her crime?
Yep.
Not necessarily everything. Just the part where she claimed to have stumbled across the dead body.
I hate that, but I understand why she has to do it.
Finding Royal Order dead, Zecora came across him as he was getting up. She then took the scooter that was left on the scene and stabbed him in the head. Afterwards, she reported the body to the police, claiming he was already dead when she found him.
That is a ridiculous accusation! What could possibly be my motivation?
Turning and Scootaloo don't have motives either. Is it really that much of a stretch to suspect you as well? Your Honor, I may not have any evidence to back up this claim, but you can't deny it is a possibility. As such, we shouldn't take stock in any of this witness's testimony.
It's true. The yellow attorney brings up a good point. Would the court really do that, though?
Dunno. But hey,
Yeah.
if she's right, that means those two kids are innocent.
You naive child!
Child?
Prosecutor Luna, please. There will be no insults in my courtroom.
For one who knows not the weight of her words, I can't think of a better
Oh,
comparison.
damn.
What gives? I was just...
You intend to cast doubt on the witness in order to save your own clients. Yet, to do so, you accuse her of committing the crime herself.
Well, what else was I supposed to do? That testimony
was not at all conclusive.
Huh?
The witness never saw who the killer was. She didn't even clearly see who was running away from the scene.
But that's what you and Your Honor were assuming.
And it's your job to point out why that assumption is flawed, and demand further evidence and testimony for the prosecution to support their case. But instead of doing that, you have openly accused this witness. You have dirtied not just her name, but if you're wrong, yours as well. And you, ponies of the gallery, you who would be so quick to suspect this poor creature on nothing but a baseless theory. Shame on you all! Is this the kind of harmony Equestria seeks to share with the world?
Order! Order! That's enough, Prosecutor Luna! Make one more disparaging remark towards Miss Sykes or the gallery, and I'll have you held in contempt of court!
My apologies, Your Honor.
Say what you want, Prosecutor Luna, but my theory doesn't contradict any of the evidence or testimony presented in this trial. As long as that remains true, I'm free to continue asserting it.
Very well. If that's the path you choose, so be it. I wonder if your co-counsel feels the same way, though.
I like Luna as prosecutor.
I'm sorry, Twilight, but it's too late for me to back down.
Nevertheless, you shan't be relying on that theory for much longer. If I can't convince you to simply abandon it, then I'll just force you to go against it.
What do you mean? Uh-oh. I don't like the sound of this.
You mentioned motive a minute ago, did you not? The motive that Scootaloo and Turning Page lack? It's about time we discussed that, don't you think? So bring out that letter you received yesterday.
I don't think
The blackmail
their arms bend back that way.
Show it to the court, now.
Darn it. What does she know about the blackmail? Did Scootaloo or Turning tell her?
Defense? What's this about a blackmail letter?
Your Honor, it's this right here. Scootaloo and her friends, the Cutie Mark Crusaders, received it yesterday afternoon. Their scooter, wagon, and capes were all stolen by some pony. To get them back, they'd have to bring the blackmailer a roll of golden silk.
Those items all sound familiar.
They should, Your Honor. All of these items were accounted for at the crime scene.
You're right. But why would that be?
Read the letter yourself, and I'm sure you'll figure it out.
Oh, the location of the blackmail. It's the same place where the murder occurred.
Precisely, Your Honor. Now, we finally know why the defendants were in the forest in the first place. They went to settle this deal with their blackmailer.
I see. And I guess this would mean Turning Page is a member of these cutie mock crusaders?
Not exactly, Your Honor. The two had met for the first time earlier that day. They became quick friends over the course of an afternoon.
But then, why did Mr. Page get involved with the blackmail?
During her interrogation, the defendant, Scootaloo, mentioned that she was backed into a corner.
Yeah, I think
when
they
her
did.
friends decided against following the orders they were
Didn't
given.
they
She decided
make him like honorary or something?
to ask her newfound friend,
Maybe not.
Turning Page,
I thought they
help her
did.
retrieve what had been taken. The two conspired to break into and steal from Carousel Boutique in order to acquire the golden silk the blackmailer asked for.
These two kids broke into a store?
Oh, this doesn't look good.
After acquiring the fabric, they proceeded to enter the forest and made their way to the scene where the blackmailer was waiting.
And this blackmailer, who were they?
I can answer that, Your Honor. The defense believes they were two fillies named Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon.
Yep.
Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon?
An infamous pair of bullies whom the
Now they're
Crusaders
getting in
are
trouble for theft.
fortunately well acquainted with. They constantly harass the group for not having their cutie marks yet, calling them names like Blank Flanks.
Bullies? How awful! Let me speak with them. There'll be no bullying on my watch.
You seem pretty content watching me get insulted, though. There's more, Your Honor. You see, yesterday when we spoke to Scootaloo at the detention center, we learned that an altercation between the Crusaders and these bullies occurred on the day of the murder. During that exchange, Turning Page came to their aid and chased the bullies off. This was where Scootaloo and Turning Page first met.
Right.
Spent time getting to know each other.
And I assume this is somehow related to the blackmail letter?
Precisely, Your Honor. The two fillies were angry that their encounter with the Crusaders ended with them getting told off, so they blackmailed them in retaliation. If you look at the top of the letter, you'll see that it begins with, "Hey there, Blank Flanks." The only ponies who would address the Crusaders as such are these bullies. This serves as definitive proof that the ponies who wrote the blackmail letter are none other than Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon. Objection!
Unfortunately, defense, that is not a wholly concrete possibility.
Huh? But the insult
Could easily be a red herring by the author of the note. These fillies are not the only ones who are aware of that particular taunt. After all, if these fillies are as infamous as you say they are, then any pony familiar with them would know that they are fond of the term blank flank. It's hardly proof, defense. Suppose
It's
Your Honor
pretty-
began to refer to you as Golden Pixie.
Yeah, true.
Would that make him me?
Well, would it?
Yep.
Golden Pixie? I very much would not mind being considered a princess, you know.
I'd rather not answer that, Your Honor.
But now, let us turn our attention to the letter itself. I'm sure everyone can see that this note is written entirely in letters cut out from a magazine. As a result, it is impossible to perform any sort of writing analysis. However, that doesn't mean we
Oh
can't
my
prove
God.
who the author of this note is.
Yep.
If we could find the magazines that these letters were cut out from, it'd be a simple matter of matching the cuts on the letters to the holes in the magazines.
Yeah, but we don't have those magazines.
Are you sure about that?
Are those?
I have here 2 magazines with several letters cut out from many different pages. If the court would be so kind, I'd like to request some time for the police to analyze the letters on the note and the empty spaces in the magazines. If we get a match, then we'll know for a fact that the blackmail letter was written using these magazines.
Very well. The court grants the prosecution's request. Abatai,
Yes, my lord.
See,
please take this letter and these magazines and have an
I
analysis
know
done.
she knows what actually
Try to
happened.
Have it done in 30 minutes if you can.
Certainly, my lord.
There's no way she just had those.
Prosecutor Luna, have the results come in yet?
They were just delivered, Your Honor.
And what's the conclusion?
The letters on the blackmail note match the shape of the cuts in the magazines.
I see. So it has been proven how the blackmail letter was written. But I fail to see how this helps us, Prosecutor.
Rest assured, Your Honor. We did not simply pick those magazines up off the street or find them in a dumpster.
You must have found
Where did the magazines come from?
Silver's house, right?
The magazines that were used to write the blackmail letter were found in the home of Royal Order.
What?
Order in the court! Prosecutor Luna, are you saying that the one behind the blackmail was the victim himself?
At the site of the blackmail, it was his body that remained after Scootaloo and Turning
Huh?
Page fled the scene.
Okay.
Additionally, the magazines used to write the blackmail letter were found in his home. It certainly doesn't look good for him.
Remember the Royal Guard was a blackmailer? I can't.
Oh my god, this is just making me suspect the mom even more.
Objection! Prosecutor Luna.
Is Turning Page rather told the mom
seriously
about
suggesting that Royal Order is the
being
blackmailer?
called blank
That
flanks?
doesn't make any sense.
What do you mean by that, Princess Twilight?
Royal Order was in Canterlot on the eve of the murder. He would not have been able to steal the Crusaders' belongings, nor send them the blackmail letter. Those events transpired much earlier in the day. Unless the prosecution can explain how he absconded with the Crusaders' things while in Canterlot, it's impossible for him to be the blackmailer.
Is that so? Well then, Prosecutor Luna, what do you say to that?
The defense is, of course, correct, Your Honor. Given the fact he was in Canterlot when the theft occurred, Royal Order could not be the blackmailer. However, I don't recall ever asserting that he was. Miss Sparkle merely assumed that would be my argument, and has seemingly overlooked the fatal implication this evidence actually holds.
What?
Royal Order was not around to set up this whole blackmailing scheme, yet the fact remains that these magazines were discovered in his home. This can only mean that the perpetrator of this blackmailing must be some pony else who lives there. We know for a fact it can't be Turning, given that he went with Scootaloo into the forest to settle the deal. That leaves us with
Turning
only one
Page.
other possibility.
Set it up.
You don't mean...
The perpetrator can only be the victim's wife, Miss Fair Devotion.
What?
Oh, so we're going with the mom then.
Prosecutor Luna, are you sure? That's the defendant's own mother.
I am, Your Honor, as much as it pains me to say. But remember,
There we
it
go.
was not the target of the black.
Oh, don't act shocked. This is
and by extension, Scootaloo were. Turning simply
that
accompanied
just
her
seemed
into
pretty
the
obvious,
forest.
really.
In which case, it's not so unthinkable that his mother could very well have been behind the whole thing.
Objection! This is ridiculous. Why would Miss Devotion want to blackmail the Crusaders?
Because she needed to.
She needed to?
You explained it to us earlier, Defense, did you not? Turning Page confronted two bullies earlier that day, Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon. He intervened whilst they were harassing the Crusaders. However, you left out the most important detail.
What detail?
That Turning's attack resulted in the fillies' dresses getting ruined. Now tell me, Golden Pixie, what do you suppose happened afterwards?
Afterwards?
There's plenty more to this story than what has been told. Luckily, thanks to our interrogation of Miss Devotion, we are able to shed light on this matter.
Please explain, Prosecutor.
According to Fair Devotion, Diamond Tiara's mother, Spoiled Rich, met with her later that day, after hearing about the incident from her daughter. Those dresses Turning Page dirtied were custom made and quite expensive. So, of course, Mrs. Rich was rather upset to hear about what had happened to them. Seeing as how the fault lay with her son, Spoiled demanded that Miss Devotion pay back the money in compensation.
And she agreed to that.
Oh, I bet that went well.
Why?
Once again, out of necessity. Mrs. Rich happens to be the president of the Ponyville School Board. Miss Devotion feared that, if she didn't agree, Mrs. Rich would ensure that she would never work at the school again.
It's horrible.
But now I'm sure you can see why Miss Devotion would need to get her hooves on a great deal of money quickly.
But the blackmail letter didn't ask for money. It asked for the fabric.
Indeed it did. Now, why, Miss Sparkle, would that be the case?
Why? Well, because...
Like I said, it takes a long time to make, and it costs a lot of money.
The fabric would fetch a pretty high price if sold to the right pony?
Exactly. The value of that golden silk was brought up during the fight between the kids.
She could sell it.
Turning must have overheard what was said and recounted the details to his mother when she confronted him. And that, ladies and gentle colts, is precisely what gave Miss Devotion the idea to blackmail the Cutie Mark Crusaders. She did it in order to pay off Spoiled Rich.
What is even happening right now? Luna somehow opened up the possibility that Fair Devotion wrote the blackmail letter.
Them bringing her up so soon, though, makes me think that...
But there's still one thing that troubles me.
Makes me think she didn't kill him, but I'm still not ruling it out.
Earlier, you said that you think Royal Order is somehow involved in the
Yeah.
blackmail. But it's been proven that he wasn't around to steal the Cutie Mark Crusaders.
No, she 100% did.
The letter. So, how can that be?
There's no big mystery here, Your Honor. It's easy to imagine that Miss Devotion and her husband were working together.
Working together? But I thought Mr. Order had gone into that forest to look for his son.
So Miss Devotion claims, but the prosecution sees no reason to trust her word anymore. The instant these magazines were matched with this blackmail letter, all of her testimony became highly suspect.
You're quite right. The magazines leave little room for doubt in regards to who the blackmailer was.
Okay, I'm lost now.
Which means they also cast doubt on her explanation for Mr. Order's movements. Taking that into account, we must seek another explanation for why he went into the forest. Luckily, there is a rather simple one. Perhaps, as soon as Mr. Order got home, Miss Devotion explained the whole situation to him. Armed with the knowledge of the blackmailing and the fabric roll, he would have left immediately for the castle. That would be the real reason why Royal Order went into the forest that night. He intended to act as the recipient for the blackmail. And thus, we arrive at the heart of the matter. The motive for the murder. I don't think we could ever truly know what happened at the foot of the bridge that night. However, if Mr. Order was the recipient for the exchange, then we can make a few inferences.
That's an interesting theory.
It could be as simple as the negotiations going sour, or it could be that learning what his father was doing infuriated Turning to the point of attacking him. Whichever scenario you choose, the basic facts remain the same. Royal Order was present at the scene of the blackmail and died there, murdered. The only ones who could have done it are the only two who were at the scene at the time, Scootaloo and Turning Page. However, as the defense has previously demonstrated,
Why,
it would be
though?
rather difficult for Scootaloo to be involved in this crime, given her inability to fly and the fact that the victim was killed while standing. Therefore, the prosecution is willing to cut the defense a deal here.
What is it?
Concede that Turning Page is guilty of murdering his father, and will be willing to let Scootaloo off without a single charge. The choice is yours, Golden Pixie.
Hold it!
Oh, fuck that.
But just know that if I think things start to look bad, I won't hesitate to confess if it means saving her.
He's going to confess. I have to stop him. Objection!
Oh, damn.
Turning, don't do this. We don't have to give up yet.
Thank you for fighting so hard for us, Miss Sykes. But this is honestly for the best.
Objection! No! It's not. I promised you both. I'd save the two of you together.
But there's
Alright guys, so unfortunately around this point in my original recording to this my reaction to this video, the audio cut out for whatever reason. I don't know what happened there, so yeah, unfortunately the rest of my reaction was muted. So I will still have the whole video. Sorry, my phone just went off. I will still have the whole video unedited uploaded if you guys still want to go watch it. The link to that one will be in the description. For this one though, I'm just gonna cut it there, and I'll try to give my summary of what I felt about the episode, if as much as I can remember it, since it's actually been a couple of days since I recorded that. Actually, a lot more than a couple of days. Been almost a week now. So yeah, again, sorry about that, but stuff happens, and unfortunately it had to happen to this video. Of all videos, I wish it didn't. But anyway, so first thing, Luna as prosecutor. Not what I expected. I obviously expected it to be Sakura. But I think it definitely worked out better that it was Luna. It was a nice surprise, and especially because I don't know how. I mean, they could have pulled off Sakura being the prosecutor, but I'm sure that would have been very hard to write a script for, having to rhyme the entire time. Either way, it pretty much worked out. So far, it's working out how I expected it to, with Luna obviously trying to help Athena. Kind of throwing little hints there, trying to get her to see all of it while also trying to be kind of snarky to her, being your typical prosecutor. I was definitely expecting more of a nicer route, but definitely got to keep it entertaining in a way, so I think this is the best way to go about it. That, and I definitely feel like Luna already knows all the details, like what happened, what caused, who was actually at fault for this and everything. I think she knows all of it. And she's just trying to help Athena out at this point. Maybe trying to help her, learn from this or something. I don't know. But yeah, I think she knows. Just from the way it sounds and the way she's acting, I'd be surprised she doesn't at least have some fake idea of what actually happened. Now for what I think happened, I know during the video I was saying that I feel like it's the mom, Fair Devotion, I believe was her name. I don't know. I keep going up and down on that one. At some points I feel like I'm really sure it's her, and then other times I feel like I'm not so sure. But I don't know. I suspect her. I don't trust her. I could be completely wrong about this, but I feel like it's her. But if it's not her, it could be our mystery killer from case 1. The one who murdered Coco's cult friend or special somebody, whatever it is you call him, best friend. I I think they were best friends, but they're starting to be, go toward a relationship. I'm not sure, but I know they never figured out who the killer of that one was. It could be the same person. I'm not sure yet, but it's to me it's either Fair Devotion or it's going to be this mystery murderer. I don't know. Somehow this is going to have to tie in. Dang, I keep forgetting her name. Sonata? What? No, not Sonata. What am I talking about? That would be a weird character to bring into this Sonata. No, whatever the female attorney was in Turnabout Storm, the one that just got out of prison. Can't remember her name, but I feel like she's gonna probably. Yeah, she's always gonna be showing up here soon, and I feel like she's gonna be helping them out with an overall case because there's obviously something going on in the background. Yeah, it's like, well, we're only 2 cases in, obviously, so it's still a little too early to tell. But I feel like, based on how that first one went, I think there's like, each case is going to be focused on its own thing, but then there's like some secret background thing running along behind the scenes throughout this whole thing, and she's going to help figure that one out. At least that's my guess so far. But yeah, overall, this was a really great episode. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the episode 4. I'm assuming that's the last one for this case. In which we should finally be talking to Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon finally. I don't know why they didn't bring him in earlier. And that was a crazy thing because like we really only went through 2 witnesses in this video, so that was a very long one. But yeah, so we'll finally get some answers from, well, it'll probably take the entire video for us to get answers out of them. They're going to be lying through their teeth about most of its stuff, but yeah, and I'm surprised, now that I think about it, I'm surprised Athena didn't mention the Nightmare Moon statue. Unless if she didn't connect the dots with that one yet. Because what was it? They said that Sakura heard a metal clang in the forest. So we automatically know that it wasn't the wooden sword that hit the dad. And they found broken glass shards where they found the body. Obviously, that was from Silver Spoon's glasses, as they've shown. So already, I can tell that the son, I'm already forgetting other names. Turning, I think was his name. I'll just say Turning. The Turning got into an argument with them and swung his sword and hit Silver Spoon, broke her glasses, broke his sword, and that's what happened there. Now, as they also noticed, or at least brought the possibility of the dad having not actually been murdered at that spot, being murdered somewhere else. To me, that, I'm pretty sure I pointed out in the video, I merely thought of the Nightmare Moon statue. I remember there being a huge pool of blood there, and there's obviously a little sharp point on the corner of the statue, base of the statue, for them, or they would have stabbed him in the head with. So obviously, and to me, he got hit with some metal around there, and then he got stabbed there, and then whoever moved him over to that other spot. Which is why I'm kind of still thinking it's the mom, Fair Devotion. Because I don't know. Because she knows based off the letter that Turning left where he was going. And he may have, or she may have already known about him and Scootaloo. So maybe for whatever reason she didn't want them hanging out together or something. So she decided to frame Scootaloo, but then Turning somehow became like, again, I don't know, because the more I think about it, the less I'm certain about of it I am. But yeah, I don't know. It could even be that the mystery killer from the first case did kill him. Maybe left him at the base of the statue, and then Fairy Defulsion went out, found him there, and moved the body over to where Scootaloo left her scooter and their wagon with the stuff in it. Kind of just left the body there. Now, as for the broken handle, that, I'm not sure, because, like I said, there is blood on there. If I'm going with that theory, I'm not sure what that blood could have been, but maybe it's not even his blood. Maybe one of the fillies or Turning maybe hit it or something, like fell onto it, broke it, and kind of cut them or something. I have no idea yet. We'll have to see in the next episode what happens there. But yeah, so far, based on what I'm saying, that's kind of where my thought process is. But like I said, we'll have to see how that goes. Just like I said, really, really great episode. I'm loving the whole dynamic with Athena and Luna in this. The animation too. It's definitely going to take some getting used to. Don't get me wrong. I like it. I like it a lot. I like the idea of them trying to make it look more like from the game, with the computerized 3D feel to them all. I'm just so used to them being 2D along with all the ponies. So now I'm seeing, 2D ponies and computerized humans here. It's kind of throwing me off here, but I'll get used to that. The models look cool, and you could definitely get some more, animation out of it. Anyway, it'll probably be easier to do than drawing it, but yeah. Other than that, I don't think there's anything. I think I said everything. Died off. Like I said, yeah, I can't remember everything I said in the original video, unfortunately, but I mean, I think I pretty much covered it here. Also, probably got a couple more thoughts out that I thought of later on. So, I mean, hopefully this summary came out a little bit better than what I originally did. So yeah, so I'm gonna be checking out the 4th episode when I go to Sequestria Fest on May 13th to the 15th. I'll try to get that recorded one of the nights when I'm in the hotel room, as well as the 2 Bonds of Justices shorts that they came out with. I'll check those out as well. I don't really know how they're going to tie in, if they're more like aftermath stories or what they're going to be like. Because I know you got the first one with Coco Pomel, and then the second one looks like it's Rainbow Dash. So, yeah, I'm interested to see how those are going to be. But so yeah, I'll check them out then. And I'll probably bring my actual video recorder and just record on that one. So hopefully I won't have this weird audio issue. I'm pretty sure that was I think it has something to do with my laptop for what caused that, because I'm using the same webcam I've always used pretty much my entire time of having this channel, and I've never had an issue with that. Even though I'm using it to both record video and audio, and I don't usually do audio on this, so maybe it's that. But I don't know. I feel like this was the. I feel like it was just my laptop was probably started running something in the background, just cut it out for some reason. I don't know, but this shouldn't. Hopefully, it won't happen again for the next one since I'm recording it on my video camera. But anyway, so yeah, thanks for checking that out. This was Elements of Justice Case 2, Episode 3. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Take it easy.